If something happens to me, it's because he's inside my house. It started a few nights ago right after that video. I didn't post it, I didn't send it to anyone, I just recorded it because I thought I saw something behind me, and in that moment I was sure there was someone there standing just out of frame, but when I replayed it later, the background looked empty. No clear figure, no movement I could point at, just a strange distortion near the doorway that could have been anything. A shadow, a glitch. My imagination trying to fill in the blanks. So I convinced myself that's all it was. Stress, lack of sleep, too much time alone. I told myself to forget it, but that same night, around 2:38 a.m., I woke up suddenly, not from a dream, not from a noise loud enough to explain it. Just that feeling like something isn't right, like your body reacts before your mind understands why. And then I heard it, a soft, almost careful sound coming from somewhere inside the house. Not outside, not the street, inside, like a floorboard shifting under weight. I stayed completely still, barely breathing, trying to isolate the sound, and after a few seconds it came again, slower this time, more controlled, like whoever made it realized I might be awake. And that's when the thought hit me, not fully formed, but enough to make my chest tighten. That didn't sound random, that sounded intentional. The next morning, everything looked normal, nothing broken, nothing stolen, doors locked, windows sealed, and I almost felt stupid for how scared I'd been, until I noticed something small that didn't make sense. One of the kitchen drawers was slightly open, not enough to immediately catch attention, just enough that you'd question your memory. And I know how that sounds. I know how easy it is to say, you just forgot. But I didn't forget. I'm careful. I check things. Especially at night, I even remember pausing in the kitchen before going to bed, looking around to make sure everything was exactly how I left it. But I let it go anyway because the alternative didn't make sense. And that's how it continued. Every night the sounds came back. Always around the same time, always subtle. Never enough to fully confirm anything, just enough to keep me awake, listening, questioning. Sometimes I would even think I heard a second sound layered under the first, like breathing or fabric shifting, but every time I tried to focus on it, it would stop, like it knew I was paying attention. And during the day, more things started to feel off. Food disappearing in small amounts, things moved just slightly out of place. My bathroom door left open when I knew I closed it. My shoes not exactly where I left them. And once I found one of my kitchen knives in the sink when I was sure I hadn't used it that day. The blade still slightly wet, like it had just been rinsed, like someone was moving through my space but trying very hard not to leave evidence, like they understood that the less I noticed, the longer they could stay. And that thought started to grow in my head whether I wanted it to or not. A few days later, I came home earlier than usual. No warning, no routine. And the second I stepped inside, something felt different. Not visibly, but the air felt disturbed, like I had interrupted something, and then I saw it. My bedroom door, wide open, not slightly, not by accident, fully open. And I stopped immediately because I always close that door. Always. I don't leave it open ever. I stood there staring into the dark room, feeling this pressure in my chest, like I shouldn't go in. Like every instinct I had was telling me to leave the house, to get out and not look back. But I didn't. I walked in slowly, checking everything, the bed untouched, the closet closed, the windows locked. Nothing out of place but the air. The air felt warm, like someone had been in there recently, like I had just missed them by seconds, like if I had come home 1 minute earlier, I would have seen them. That night, I decided I wasn't going to sleep. I turned off all the lights, sat in the living room and waited. No distractions, no phone, just listening, trying to catch whatever had been hiding from me. Hours passed with nothing. Complete silence, to the point where I started doubting everything again, thinking maybe I had built this up in my head, maybe I needed rest, maybe I was the problem. And then at exactly 3:17 a.m. I heard it again. But this time it was different, clearer, heavier, a slow, deliberate step directly above me, and my entire body went cold because there is no second floor in my house. There's only a small attic space, one I never use, one I barely even think about. And the step came again, followed by a faint dragging sound, like fabric or something soft being pulled across wood. And then a pause, longer this time, like whoever was up. There had stopped moving completely, listening, calculating, and for a second I had this overwhelming feeling that they knew I was down there, that they could hear my breathing the same way I could almost hear theirs. I didn't move. I didn't make a sound. I just stared at the ceiling, trying to understand how long this had been happening without me realizing it. How many nights those sounds came from above me while I thought they were coming from somewhere else. How many times they had been directly over me while I slept. And eventually I stood up, slowly, quietly, grabbed a chair, and placed it under the attic hatch. My hands shaking so bad I could feel it in my fingers, I reached up and pulled the cord, lowering the hatch inch by inch, and as it opened, a smell hit me immediately. Stale, heavy, like trapped air, mixed with something human, something lived in, something that didn't belong, something that had been there long enough to settle in. I lifted my phone and shined the light inside. At first I saw nothing unusual, just insulation, wooden beams, dust floating in the air, and then my light caught something in the corner, something that didn't belong there. A small pile of blankets, crumpled, layered, like a place someone had been lying down, and next to it, food wrappers, empty bottles, things that were definitely mine. Things from my kitchen, recent, not old, not forgotten, fresh. And I noticed something else too, something that made it even worse. A narrow path pressed into the insulation like it had been used over and over again, leading from that corner to the exact spot above my bedroom. Like they had been lying there directly above me every single night, listening, waiting, watching through the smallest gaps. I felt this wave of panic hit me as I slowly backed away, lowering the hatch as quietly as I could, trying not to make any noise, trying not to let them know I had seen it, because suddenly the situation changed. It wasn't just something unknown anymore. It was someone who now might know that I knew, and just as I stepped back into the living room, I heard it again, but not from above this time, from behind me inside the house, a soft shift of weight on the floor, slow, controlled, careful. Exactly like the sounds I'd been hearing every night, except now they weren't hidden, now they were close, too close. I froze, every muscle locked, my breathing shallow, and I turned my head just slightly toward the hallway, and it looked empty, completely empty, but it didn't feel empty because I could hear it. Quiet, steady breathing, not mine, not echoing, real. Someone standing just out of sight, close enough that if I moved, they would hear it instantly, and then something else, a faint sound I hadn't noticed before. A soft, almost silent exhale followed by the slightest movement, like a foot adjusting against the floor closer than before. And in that moment, I understood something that made everything worse. They weren't just hiding anymore, they were standing there, fully aware of me, fully aware that I had found where they were, and they weren't trying to stay hidden anymore. They were deciding what to do next, and whatever had been living above me all this time wasn't up there anymore.